Hello and welcome to episode 465 of Retro Encounter, RPG fans' bi-weekly podcast of many topics, and I am your host today, Zach Wilkerson, and we are here to talk about the second half of Breath of Fire 2, that 1995 Capcom RPG that may be painful in more ways than one, but I gotta tell you, y'all, like the last 5 hours of this game, 10 hours of this game, I still love it. It's still so... no game feels like this for me. I loved it. But anyway, we'll get into that. Before I start gushing about how much I still enjoy this game, let's introduce the panel with people who maybe don't enjoy it as much as me, starting with you, Matt.
Hi, I'm here to translate for the young listeners. Breath of Fire 2 is Skibbity, Ohio, everybody.
Riz. And Mike Salbato.
How can I possibly follow that up? I'm here too.
You know, I was just hanging out with a friend of mine who has a Gen Z child, and apparently a new phrase amongst Gen Z is fine shite, which is you're describing someone who is attractive. And I didn't know this. And I learned something new every day.
Konnichiwa, fine shite. Yeah, they do say
that. Yeah. Anyway, Breath of Fire 2. So last time we talked about the first half. We talked about a lot of the mechanics, a lot of the grind, a lot of the translation, but we didn't talk so much about the story because I feel like the story itself doesn't really kind of amp itself up or get going until the second half. And that isn't to say there aren't some mechanically interesting things in the second half. I think the shaman system becomes a lot more interesting in the second half. I think that the town building stuff is it's like a thing where you really have to make choices in this half, and I think it's really cool. There's some really cool stuff in the second half. But before we dive in, what are some sort of general feelings or impressions that you guys had of the second half before we sort of dive into some of the specifics?
I forgot how much happens, even though I've played it before. I at least remembered, a lot of the major plot points and things I remembered, were in the second half. But I completely forgot about the whole side story with Kat and some other, smaller sequences in there. There's just one thing after another. And it's so different compared to the first half, where there's a couple story arcs that you're just slowly following, and then at the end they're just you're constantly hit with new scenes and characters and some dialogue. But it was cool revisiting that again.
Yeah, I agree. The first half that we talked about, it was really episodic of just this is Jean's episode and this is Rand's episode, just kind of giving you a little bit of backstory about each of those characters. But then once you're introduced to the whole team, the squad, it does come back and it loops back to the original mystery of the town with amnesia and the religious theme. So yeah, it did get more narratively interesting, I think, in the second half, especially like you said, in the last 10 hours.
Yeah, and I think even the very first thing that we really do after the conversation we had last time, where we sort of ended at the wise tree, is that this whole quest line is ridiculous, right? So it's the wise tree's I need a pillow so I can sleep, and you're and he's go to this town, and you go to that town, and it's you can't speak to us, go somewhere else. But they're extremely unclear about where that somewhere else is, and it turns out it's High Fort, and it turns out that's where Sten is from. And I think that I the introduction of Sten, I think, is just the worst thing this game does. And that's saying something, because this game does a lot of bad stuff. It's so stupid. But then this little story at High Fort's pretty good. I kind of liked it. I kind of liked this idea of the history of Sten. I didn't mind the solo section because I remembered that it was coming, because one of the things this half of the game loves to do is to throw you into solo fights without really telling you ahead of time. And when I'm prepared for it, like I was here with Sten, I'm oh, it's fine. When I was not prepared for it, like I was later with Nina, it was freaking miserable. But I like the Sten sequence in general. What did you guys think of High Fort?
I did too. I thought that was one of the strongest episodes, narratively, in the game for me. I also had to grind Sten, but at least they give you you go down the stairs in the little hotel that costs only 10 gold, and they give you high level armor and weapons right then and there, and then you can grind. But I had to grind for maybe an hour to get him high enough to beat that friggin' monkey whose name I forget. Do you, what was the name
Trubo.
of Trubo, yeah, Trubo.
Trubo, great name.
Not Turbo, yeah, Trubo.
Yeah. It's actually Terubo if you in the actual fight itself. It's really good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, great translation there.
Yeah, both of them actually. The Trubo is Terubo in battle, and Shupuke is Shupuke in the battle. So
Shupuke.
There's some extra U's in there.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I thought that was interesting, and like it added a lot to Sten's character that wasn't there before. But also, like, they kind of just forget about him after that too, which I was a little bit disappointed because I started to really like him. And then beyond that point, I just like left him out of my party and didn't really use him again.
Yeah, that's kind of a shame. Like, everyone gets, all the characters have their little side stories, which we'll get to them as we talk today. But some are more relevant and core to the plot. And it's just this moment. I did like it though. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's nice seeing him as an actual character. I really, looking back, I have no idea why his introduction is what it is. I mean, like, one, he's kind of a creep, but he's never that way any other time in the game.
Yeah.
And also, why is he like a street magician? Like, what does that have to do with? Like, he was a soldier.
Like, he was like this epically amazing soldier, but now he does magic tricks. And there's like a lot of background you could explore there, but they sure didn't do that.
But he doesn't really use magic. I mean, I think he does. I think he
doesn't have any AP.
Well, yeah, but I think he has, like, where I am, like, he has 3 spells. I don't know. Maybe he gets another one eventually, but he's just not a magic user.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all very strange considering this is his backstory. So, yeah, no, I enjoyed it.
I mean, like, tonally too, like, not just him, like Jean, like, sometimes he's an idiot and then sometimes he's like so wise and insightful. And I'm like, what happened? Like, his voice completely changes. And Rand as well. Sometimes they paint Rand as like a little baby boy, like the way he talks. And then they make him like this big macho guy the next second. And I'm like, well, which is it? Like, is he 10 or is he like 20 or 30? Yeah, it was a bit disjointed, I think.
It's funny because earlier today I was reading just actually like the guy who did the retranslation of this, the guy who did that in 2009, had like all these forum posts on GameFAQs because, of course, about some of the choices that he made while he was localizing these characters. And there were some people who were criticizing him for like making Cat seem too dumb. There were some people who were criticizing him for making Rand seem like too much like a country bumpkin who didn't know about the world or whatever. And one of the things that he said, at least this is according to him, is that, like, look, like it really became a reality of like the writing in the original was like slightly inconsistent and really nuanced. And like it was really hard for him as the localizer to sort of make all that nuance sort of like streamline. So it really makes me want to play this. I wish I knew any Japanese at all. It makes me want to play this game in Japanese to see how they make those things really make sense together.
Yeah. I mean, the weird thing is, like, I don't usually get that impression with Cat, but every once in a while they'll say a line. Actually, I was playing a little bit earlier today, and I don't usually go back to the town and go talk to the people in the rooms, but I was like, well, I'm here. I'll just go do it. And then, I'm near the end, and she says something that's like, wow, you'll even let like a dumb girl like me help out. I'm like, well, that's weird. Also, like, just a translation choice, but again, like there's a little bit of that, so like maybe that was what she was supposed to be. You're supposed to think that she's kind of ditzy or something, but it doesn't usually come across, so I've never really had that impression of her.
Yeah, it's probably just translated from like silly, like maybe she's like childish or silly. Because I didn't think that she was dumb at any point. I mean, Jean is dumb, but
yeah, but also not. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's like the Legends of Localization article is out there, and it's really good and it's really interesting. But like, there's really nothing outside of like that guy who localized it, who had his own opinions and brought his own flavor to it, to like really see what it was like. And I realized that we never can unless you really know the language. But like in this case in particular, for whatever reason, because I just enjoy this game so much, like I really want to know. I'm not going to learn Japanese to find out. I definitely don't care that much, but yeah.
I don't really care enough to replay the game in Japanese, to be honest with you guys. But I'm guessing in that case, like there are a lot of cases where I could clearly see like, okay, this is probably what they said in Japanese based on the like stilted translation. Like in Kat's case, I'm assuming that she says like kudaranai, which means like insignificant or like trivial, but it can also mean stupid. So she's probably saying like, oh, like an insignificant girl like me you took me along on your journey. Like that kind of thing is probably lost in translation.
Yeah.
That sounds way better. Yeah, but that sequence is really cool. Like I like the section with when you're just playing a Sten is not, I think, as long as you kind of know it's coming, it's not overly challenging. Like it's a little tough, but it's not insane. I think that the stuff with Shupke or I don't know what are names are pretty good, and also like that idea of like his friend coming back to attack him. Like it's very anime, but like I don't know, like it for me, like it felt big in like this hour-long segment. I thought it was cool.
And like the jumping off the rooftop and then like the falling bridge of like, we're going to crash, but before we do, show me your power. Like that was very, very anime.
Yeah, that's true.
I freaking loved it. And I still do. But then we get into a section that I love maybe slightly less. And Matt said before that he kind of liked the actual mechanics of this section. I don't even like that part. So after you go to High Fort, you leave. You think it's Sten's dead. He's not dead. And then you go back and you're able to talk to the people at Tunlin. They say like, oh, well, before we can help you, you must help our queen, who is so sick that she can't get out of bed. And so you have to go find this doctor that they fired at this mountain, and you have to find like the right colored mushrooms, which, excellent for colorblind people. This is one of the very few things I looked up. I'm like, what's the right mushroom? I'm just grabbing it. And then you have to go into the queen's body because she is
demonically fat is basically how they describe it.
Yeah. And the doctor himself also is also the worst because like he's like he'll only talk to like young girls, and I can at least sort of live with like a creepy old guy because those people still exist. But like, man, I don't know about the having to cure a woman's fat by invading her body. There's like all kinds of layers to that I have real trouble with.
Also, there's so many pervy characters like Sten, Jean. Like they all are like, I only want to talk to a pretty girl, and it's like that happens like 5 times in the game.
Yeah.
It's not great.
No, it isn't.
Japanese sense of humor, I think, from the 90s, right? That like Dragon Ball kind of like Roshi thing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy at Kat's reaction to that actually, because they didn't play it off. It's like, okay, fine, I guess I'll just kiss you. The fact that she like just hits him with the stick, but like 9 times. Like just constantly beats on him is like, no, we're not going to do that. I'm like, all right, I appreciate that. She is not putting up with this at all.
I liked the Queen's Dungeon. I mean, like I did find it a little funny that it happened so soon after like the Grandpa the Whale dungeon, because like the
spend a lot of time inside of things in this game. Yeah,
you do. And, like, they reuse the same palette. Like you could tell, like oh, we really spent a lot of time on this like intestinal background. We're going to use it like 5 times in a row now, right? I thought that was kind of funny, but I enjoyed like it's the one case where I finally understood like in the pause menu you have like the little dancing goblin at the top, and that's like your monster meter showing like the random encounter rate pretty much. And I'm like, why didn't they explain that earlier? Like I thought, oh, that's actually a really, yet again, another kind of ingenious idea in this game that isn't really fully developed, right? But the seeds are there for like really clever ideas, I think.
So true story. All the times I played this game as a kid, I had no idea what that thing was about. And obviously I played through this dungeon and I had actually no real concept of what I was supposed to do. So I remember even like the last time I played it, like 3 or 4 times through, like I remember spending like hours in this place and dreading going into this place because like I was like, what am I supposed to do? What is the trigger? What is the thing that does it? And it did not occur to me in a million years that it was like that thing was there on the menu, and that it was about which screen I was on and just clearing that screen.
Yeah, the goblin will fall asleep when there are no more random encounters to be had.
Yeah, I got that now. I didn't get it before.
Me too. I like in the moment I'm like, oh, like that's why. And like, yeah, it's a clever idea, but why? Like they don't use it anywhere else in the game because the goblin is always freaking out and giving you every 3 steps another random battle, right? It would be nice if like in a dungeon you could clear out the amount of monsters. I think that'd be a cool idea.
Yeah. I mean, he has like 3 different modes though.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing and I don't need to tell you that, but like if you're in an area with weak enemies, he's like really lethargic, and then there's a normal one, and then a really fast one. So it tells you if you're in a dungeon or even on the world map, if you're somewhere where the enemies are stronger than you or not. Though again, yes, it should have been explained at some point, because like especially in that dungeon is the first time you like really need it as like a metric. Otherwise, you're just wandering around and like, huh, that's weird. There's no battles here. I guess I'll just keep looking.
Yeah.
But I do like it otherwise. I think once you know about that anyway, I think it's an interesting concept where it's like you can actually defeat everything in there. I mean, of course, you know, everything around the Queen's story and this, like the dialogue and the localization, of course, is all a problem. And I can totally see where they were going with it. You know, we keep running into major characters in the world who are like turning into demons. So it's like, okay, well, there's like this demon like festering or growing inside her, but they don't, you know, they didn't have a good way of like explaining that properly. So it's just like, she's just getting really fat and she's going to blow up. I'm like, okay. And then when you have the old guy saying it's like, you got to go in there and defeat all the evil fatty. Also not great. And
dialogue. The hardest enemy in there is literally named Fatty,
and it runs away a lot. Yeah. So all of that, I'm like, okay, but I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to say, it's like, yes, like there's this horrible thing growing inside her. It wasn't about her being fat. But
yeah, it is funny, like where he's like, you clear out like her upper left part of the dungeon, and then like it zooms back out, and like her shoulder is like normal size, and he's like, "That's the ticket, like more."
I also love that the descriptions of her body are just upper left, lower right. I imagine they should be like quadrants or something, but it's like, oh yes, let's clear out her right side.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's not hard. I mean, that's good. I mean,
yeah.
At least like it was an easy clear, which as we're getting into this section, this game started really biting me hard in some of these sections here. We'll get to some of that, but yeah, it's clumsy at best. Offensive at worst, and interesting in theory, maybe. We'll put it that way. And which is a good way of describing a lot of this game. Interesting in theory, except for I still like it. Yeah. Anyway, after that, we go to actually like they do a thing with a concept. This next dungeon, really, it's not really a dungeon, but it's like a space that really I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Because you go back to the wise tree after you get the pillow, and the wise tree's like, hey, I got and then you just like go into his dream. And I couldn't really kind of figure out like, so in the dream, there are these three towns, at least at first. There's one that's like a very young person town, then a sort of middle-aged town, and then an old person town. And you're talking to them, and like you get the sense that these people like are all elements of the wise tree, I think. Yes. But there's also like this character named Barros, which I was reading about afterwards, is this missable character who actually teaches you these amazing spells. You can recruit him for your town. Of course, I missed him. There's this guy who can teach you like missile, like any character at that point in the game, which would be extremely valuable at that point in the game. I don't even think my blue had learned it yet.
Although the problem with that, like really quick, is the part I hated about the town building was if you accidentally recruit someone, like you just talk to them and you pretty much recruit them automatically, I believe. You can't kick them out. So it's like I have all my houses are taken up with like useless people, like the Riddle Master. So I couldn't get like that magician guy, right?
Yeah. I guess to kind of pause on that for a second before we talk about the dream, like the town recruiting is interesting, but the fact that you can't tell people to leave is frustrating. And I'm guessing it was like meant to increase replay value, but the useful ones are so like, this is a great example. Arguably, maybe the second most useful town member you can recruit, and he's in a missable area in a very specific spot. The carpenter, there's like one carpenter you can recruit that will literally give you for relatively cheap stat boosting items. As a kid, I never knew that, of course. Like you can literally like go buy some items, go give it to him. He'll mix them together, and then you can get a strength up or an AP up or an HP up. And it's not that expensive. It's like I was reading around, and apparently, like if you just grind out like cash for like an hour, you can almost max everybody's stats in the entire game.
Wow.
And that's insane. And that's all missable. Like you could all, that's the carpenter, right? So you have to choose one of three. And at that point, you're just screwed, right? So I think that the town building is interesting. The fact that the town can eventually fly is interesting. I can't really remember any games before this. And correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe Soul Blazer did this. I'm not sure. But I can't remember any games before this that really had like a town building element. And it's clumsy, but I still think it's fun. And I didn't really engage with it. Like I collected like the ones that I remembered were good, but I didn't really use them. So did you guys sort of engage with that, or how'd you guys do with that?
Yes and no, but again, like Matt said, even though I've played this before, it's really easy to fall into that trap. Or like, oh, I guess I just invited you to my town and I didn't need to. So I got the girl in Windia, right, who runs the shop, and I'm like, oh, cool, I can buy low level items, but she is very useful. Given what she sells at the end of the game.
Yeah, I did get her. That was very helpful.
So she's great. I got the I got the riddle guy. Of course, I think I mentioned this last time. I got the guy that lets you change the color of your windows because that's important to me. I've actually never even known that there was someone in the Wise Tree, whether I missed him or not. So nothing too big. The Carpenter actually is another example of that too. I mean, I said this in the last episode, but I forgot that there are more Carpenters. So again, I just had the choice of talking to this one. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just use this one. Like I forgot you couldn't. I wish there was an indication when you're saying yes. He's not like, oh yeah, well, there's also my brothers you could have, because I don't like the tree houses. But what are you gonna do? Like it'd be nice to be able to change that later too.
Yeah. I accidentally like early on filled my town with a bunch of like useless people, and so. In retrospect, like when I'm playing through the game, like I meet a guy who's clearly a blacksmith, or like that magician guy in the dream, and they're like, oh, I wish I had someone to teach magic to, and I'm like, no, like it was really frustrating to be like, I wish I knew this 20 hours ago, because then I could have learned like all these spells that would help me in the final dungeon. But yeah, that was a little bit frustrating. But like you said, like many aspects of the game, it's like revolutionary ideas that aren't really executed very well, right? Like the last episode we talked about the day-night cycle and like the morality system. A lot of big ideas that like I'm glad later RPGs kind of took and expanded upon, but here it's just kind of like good on paper. Yeah,
and interestingly, I'm going to correct something I said in the last episode. Last episode I said that the morality system is useless. There is one circumstance under which it is useful, and that is when you're talking to that Baros guy. And basically, like, what you have to do is you have to come to him with, like, no AP and no HP. And he's like, he asks you some questions about it, and then he'll teach you a spell. He'll tell you what spell he's going to teach you, and he'll say, like, who do you want to assign it to? But it has to be the person who has that low HP and low AP. But if their mood is poor, they'll get, like, a worse spell. But if they have like that rainbow, like color cycling thing, then you can teach them Missile, which, at that point in the game, very powerful spell. Bolt X is only just a tiny bit more powerful. Again, it gets to your exact point, Matt. That's a really interesting idea. That is so buried under 1,000 things that unless someone is like literally playtesting it and figuring it out, not even replays are going to really give you that, right? So yeah, I think that I'm a little more forgiving of like, I wish I knew this 20 hours ago, because at least to me, I remember when I was playing these games originally, like I only had so many games to play. So I knew I was going to replay it. That was going to happen. But like when something like that obscure, I'm like, come on, dude, like this is stupid. Like I didn't know that until this playthrough, and it was only afterwards that I knew it. So yeah, I think it's a fair criticism.
Yeah, I mean, like no other game at the time, like I could imagine doing that. Like this is like contemporary to, like we said, Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy IV, Earthbound. None of those had like any of these ideas, which are now like staples of the genre. So it is cool, like as a forerunner. But yeah, I mean, like what it chooses instead to focus on is like the story, which is more comparable to like Final Fantasy IV, for example, and like it doesn't really compete in that regard, I feel like. But I was going to ask, like, I know, Zach, you're a big fan of Final Fantasy IV. Were you replaying that more often than this game, or which one were you more leaning towards as a kid?
That's a good question. I think that Final Fantasy IV as a kid was definitely the game I replayed the most. Yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
Because it came out earlier. I mean, like, I know that it seems like to a young person like you that there were like not that many years between these things, right? But to me as a kid, time goes slower when you're a kid. It's actually like a research fact. And so like to me, like for 3-ish years, 2 or 3 years, like Final Fantasy IV was it. And so I played that game a lot. And when I got that game maybe a year, I was given that game maybe a year after it came out. Even though I had, played it myself and watched my grandparents played it and all that different stuff. So, but again, that gets back to my point that you played the games you had, at least if you're like a poor kid growing up in Akron. And so, I definitely played 4 more. And in retrospect, 4 is obviously significantly easier, but I don't know. Like I have such a soft spot for this story that, and we'll get into that a little bit more in a second here, that I replayed it probably almost as much.
Yeah. I know it's not like a fair, point to make, but like, as I'm playing it, I just kept on comparing it to like these other great RPGs. And the feeling I kept having, I think it was made in Japan in like 1994, this game, it was released. And to me, it felt more like a 1991 or 2 game. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like it should have come out like a few years before. And I know Breath of Fire 1 did, but that's the feeling I got all the time when I was playing it. Like,
if you go back and play Breath of Fire 1, I think you'll 100% feel that way.
Okay.
Because all these interesting ideas we're talking about, none of that stuff was there in Breath of Fire 1. Okay. I know there are some people who prefer Breath of Fire 1, but like there's like some like combination systems. Like there's one character, it's actually one of the characters on Giants Island, who could do like some combination stuff. But like the story itself, I think is really bad. And the combat has nothing that's interesting that is in this game. And Ryu is even more powerful. Actually, I think Breath of Fire 2's Ryu is probably the least powerful one in the whole series. Now that I've gotten a fair ways through 4, and I'm like, this dude's broken. So yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway, but the dream sequence, which I know you did like, Matt, right? I thought was really cool. So like you're kind of trying to figure something out, and then eventually, like I think it does event triggers in a really interesting way, because a lot of times old NES, SNES event triggers are really annoying. So you have these 3 different towns, and eventually, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the very last town you get to, which I think is the youngest town, right?
Yep, you go back in time.
Yeah. You have to talk to one very specific kid. He's like, "Hey, I'm pretty sure you can see the tower if you look that way." I'm like, what the frick are you talking about? So I walk over to the left. I'm like, there's no tower over here. And then they're like, what do you mean there's 3 towns? There's only 2 towns. And then eventually you sort of figure out that like that original town that you started in is actually the tower. You have to go up to sort of free the wise tree from whatever's infecting the wise tree. I was never really clear on that. And maybe you guys can, you can correct me on this or inform me on this. But it was still an interesting idea. And I oftentimes find event triggering extremely annoying in early RPGs, especially nowadays. But here I actually thought it was used to like good effect.
Yeah, I love like obscure puzzles like that, but I don't like it when it's combined with an encounter rate that's so high. So like it's fun to like look around and just kind of explore, but not when it's like, oh, every 5 steps I have to take another battle. But yeah, I thought this was like one of the most interesting, maybe the most interesting dungeon in the entire game, or like sections of the entire game. And it made me think like this in the Queen's Body. I'm like, why can't the rest of the game be more like unique like that? I mean, too many RPGs rely on like the forest, the sewer with rats and like things like that, where I'm like, yeah, I've done that a million times, but this is like those 2 dungeons that we just talked about. That's what I'm going to remember for like years ahead of time. I'll look back and think about that part, I think. But I love like the music in that overworld. I love like the creepy atmosphere and like, yeah, the kind of the various versions of the old man tree getting younger and younger. I just thought it was really like surreal and interesting. Yeah.
When you're talking about the encounter rate, are you talking about in the tower specifically, right?
In the tower was even worse. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the interesting thing outside is like you run into like all kinds of enemies. Like sometimes they're just really low level. So I thought that was kind of an interesting throwback, and like it tied into the concept of this is his memory. So you don't really know what you're going to fight. But yeah, definitely in the tower more. I looked up some screenshots to confirm something that I was curious about, because I mentioned that I've been playing the GBA version. And, you know, everything in the GBA one is scaled down. They scaled down the UI and battle and some other stuff. And I'm playing through this dungeon, and that the notion of, oh, my eyesight is bad, so I can't see the walls in front of me. So you have that ring around you where you can't see right around you. Does indeed take up a larger percentage of the screen on the GBA. Because I'm going through, I'm like, man, this is really, really, really tricky. But it is because I'm playing on the GBA version. So it's like, it's a little bit harder to get around because the circle is maybe bigger than it should be for the screen. So yeah, that plus the encounter rate was tricky. But other than that, yeah, the idea of it is really neat. So I enjoyed that. The world, especially like when you get to the third one and you learn about what the first tone was and how it changes on you. Yeah, really nothing else like it in the game.
And that boss fight was like, really cool, and I love the way it tied back to the opening of the game. Although again, like the boss's name was kind of fuddled in translation, right? But he's like Amnesia, basically.
Oh, right. It did have a weird name. I didn't write down what it was, but yeah,
it was like some like katakana version of Amnesia that didn't really translate well. But yeah, like I that was like, you know, kind of. Because I was like salivating at the idea of like returning back to the original mystery, because that's like the most interesting part of the game. And I'm like, finally, here we go. And like that big reveal of like, I'm the one that erased your town's memory. Ha ha ha. Now have at thee. Like the kind of battle. I thought that was really cool from a storytelling standpoint.
Yeah. And I think that as it goes further, and this is like the first really kind of hint. I mean, I think that we've gotten like maybe these very small hints throughout that the church is bad, but I think it's really the next place, right where we really find out, because after you come out of the wise tree, it's like, hey, there's, you know, this church that's bad and it's a problem, and the people who will fight it are south of here, so go south. I'm like, okay, and then you have to walk that foggy area, and it's like very small, and it's fine. But you come back to Rand's hometown, and Rand's mom is just delightful.
Yes.
She's such a good character. Even with this miserable localization, like she still shines through as this just like loving mom who's tough, but also like, you know, kind, and especially with, you know, what happens with her later. She's just a great character, and I actually kind of wish that Rand got a little more dialogue in this section, but that's, you know, pretty normal for this game. But I kind of thought it was fun, like when you had to like plow the field and you were just like fighting rocks, and one of the rocks was a boss, and I was like, what the heck? And I was like, I didn't realize it was like the first one I attacked, and I was like, well, I guess I better save my dragon form for after this, and that was a bad idea, but. Then you have to go, because this town is not a believer in Saint Ava, so you have to go, you know, pay tribute to, you know, sort of Buddhist coded god. And interestingly, and I think I kind of talked about the story in the first game, or in the first half. No matter how many times I played through this game, the one thing that foiled me, and I remember it foiling me and searching for hours to find it, was the Earth Shaman. I could never freaking find the Earth Shaman. And it turns out there's a good reason for it, because it's super freaking missable. Basically, you have to donate 2,000 Zenny, which, you know, Zenny is not cheap in this game. You have to donate 2,000 Zenny at the, what's it called? The Namanda Shrine, I think.
That's right.
And then you come back after the events, a farm town, and then there's the Earth Shaman. There's no way I could have. There's no way I could have done that as a kid. 2,000 specifically.
You have to do it 20 times. You have to donate 20 times and go through the dialogue. And I'm like, that is like so. Yeah.
Yeah. I had no idea, but it actually makes the end game significantly easier because of what the Earth Shaman does for Rand. Oof. But we'll get into that. But
and you have to.
Go ahead.
You have to donate before you do that other sequence, right? Because if you do it
Yeah.
after, I'm guessing you can't get her.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no way I could have found this as a kid, right? And it was super satisfying to get it. It was just like, oh, this is the great work of my life. 30 years later, I found it. It's super exciting for me. But there's also like this weird mini game inside of there. Apparently, I was reading about afterwards.
Yeah.
That you can get like a spell for Rand that like knocks off of like half of an enemy's health or something. I was like, I thought about going back to do it before recording, and I decided not to. But the important part, regardless, is when you get back to Farmtown after going to Namanda, you have the mom is gone, and after being this person who is super against Saint Ava, who's she believes in what she believes in, and there's just like a paladin there, or an S. paladin, I believe, who is just like, nope, she's gone. She decided that she believes in our religion now. It's the right one.
Yep,
Yay.
she's going to sell her land to us, and we're all like, yeah, okay.
We're building a church here now.
There, yeah, that was interesting.
And I can't. I think it's actually kind of difficult for me to overstate, and I'll kind of get into this sort of thematic idea now. Difficult for me to overstate this idea when I was a kid, when I was that young, that like the church would do evil. Because I'm not saying I wasn't really like super religiously necessarily, but like definitely like Christian, like Christian light, like just the way that a lot of Americans are. Sort of like, Christianity is like the thing. And it never even occurred to me that, and obviously St. Ava is very Christian coded, and there's a reason that so many Christian coded religions are evil in Japanese media, right? Because of all the things that Christians did in Japan over, like a 200-year period. So I get it. But it was really mind-blowing to me. And I know that other games before this had done it, but man, like it was like, oh, the church did some bad stuff, especially because the only one you really knew from the church was Ray, who comes in and kind of gives you the business at this point. So I at least to me, like it really blew my mind.
I 100% get that. I mean, like, did we all grow up in like a small town, which tend to be conservative, right? Like
I grew up in Akron, Ohio, which is not a small town, but it really is a small town. Okay, it's like take West Virginia.
Yeah,
it's like take West Virginia, just like sort of like implant it in northeast of Ohio and add some like rubber factories, and that's basically what Akron is like still today. True story.
And yeah, that feeling, like I had the same feeling as you had with this game with Final Fantasy X. Like that's also one of the things that makes that one of my favorite games of all time. They criticize religion in like a very thoughtful way that like would have been unheard of or like unseen in Western media. I'm like, you can do that? Like you can, so I do appreciate the game like tackling such a heavy topic, and they do it pretty well. I mean, it gets a little bit ham-fisted later on with like the rebellion, like Taiga's rebellion group. When you talk to them, they make like these very obvious metaphors for like real life religion. But it was an interesting topic, and it felt like they were compelling villains. Like the head dark priest of the Saint Eva Church was really cool, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's you can't pretend that we haven't seen, secretly evil religious things in games or media or whatever. Like now, like I mean, we've seen so much of it. I don't think it was quite as common back then in games, but maybe that's because there was less games. But
I mean, part of it was that it's Nintendo didn't let that stuff happen. I actually can't.
That's true. Yeah,
imagine that this got through to Nintendo's censors. It's crazy to me.
Right. I mean, there was. I had a moment where I was playing where Nina learns to spell angel. I'm like, oh, that was probably supposed to be holy, but I'm like, no, it's literally sends an angel out. I'm like, and then she gets death. I'm like, okay, all right. I guess Nintendo just didn't look at this one. They're like, is there blood? Because we already said no to Mortal Kombat, and they're like, no. It's like it's fine. They didn't have it on their questionnaire yet. It's like, do you kill God? Now that later on they probably would, but yeah, but like when you. I don't know. I don't like holding an older game to a certain standard because, like, putting that story in a game now, it's like, okay, well, we've seen this, but if you make it interesting and compelling enough, like, I don't care. What's that phrase? Like, there's only so many stories or whatever. But No, I mean, I think it's really interesting. It's not quite so cut and dry or as bland as like some games or stories might be. You know, it feels, I don't want to say it feels very real, but it sort of does. Like when
Yeah.
you meet Rand's moms, like you go into town, it's not just like people saying, it's like, oh yeah, well, you know what they're doing this. Like your introduction to her is her throwing this guy out of the house and saying, no, we don't want your kind here. And they're like, and they force their way in there. It's like just the way they present it and the way you see it taking place and the way how they manipulate people and all that. Like I thought it was more well done than I realized before for a game of this age. Yeah. And like it really, I mean, when we get to a couple of places, I'm looking at our list here, but like, especially there's a sequence later on where I was like, wow, this is like still really creepy, but it really, really freaked me out as a kid. So yeah, I think the point is they did it well. So that's why it worked.
It's from a visual standpoint, like, whereas other like JRPGs, it's like when you fight God, it's not really like, it doesn't resemble like a biblical God at all. Like the religions are just kind of like these vague things. But here it's like very obviously Christianity. I mean, like the churches all look like Christian churches. They have like, in place of a crucifix at the front of the church, they have like this kind of twisted, I don't even know what you would call it, kind of shape, but kind of resembling a cross. And yeah, I thought like it is very specifically targeting like evangelical Christians, and like with Daisy's introduction, like you said, like kicking out the the missionaries trying to take over the town. I thought, yeah, like it is very bold. Like they're just being very specific with their targeting. I appreciated that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a direct takedown of like Western imperialism, and also Western imperialism through the spread of Christianity, which I hate to say it, they're sort of one and the same sometimes. I apologize to any Christians who are listening who don't agree with me. Feel free to email me and tell me I'm wrong. But historically, it's basically accurate. And so I think that it's again, from a Japanese perspective, there's a reason that they like said they kicked all those Christians out. They're like, nope, we're going to do our own thing for a minute here. And so, yeah, I think that, and I also think that some of the story beats that come after this are really powerful too. Like, I think it's still executed like pretty well. And I think that like losing Rand's mom, who was like the most lovable character in this entire game up to this point, and she converts that fast. I don't know. I think it gets to a lot of issues, and I don't want to get too deep into cultism and stuff like that, but like I think it's pretty powerful, honestly, even today.
Yeah, it's one of the things that in the game that still comes through, despite, you know, as long as you can read between the lines and understand what's going on, regardless of how it's presented or spelled. Yeah.
So don't worry, we're talking about the end of Breath of Fire 2 here, so we will talk more about the church soon enough here. But before we get to the church, let's talk about something that's a little bit more delightful in this game, which is the fact that your town gets to fly, but not yet. Not quite yet. And I actually can't remember even how, I think you talk to the wise tree or a wise tree, I think at some point, because I was just kind of digging around, trying to just like do as genuinely as possible. And they're like, hey, in this town, there's this person who will help you fly. Because you realize, because after Rand's mom is taken, you're like, hey, we got to go. We got to go after her. Like this isn't right. We got to go deal with this. So we got to get, but the problem is it's floating off in the sky and there's no way to get there unless you can fly. And so you find this woman who's like, hey, I can help you fly, but she doesn't know how, because you'll maybe get the opportunity to do so soon, which is super cool. But then she mentions, as you're talking to her, she's like, hey, I wish we could fly like the people of Windia. Just like, I will admit that I appreciated how obvious it was. Like, hey, you need to go do this next. Because sometimes this game is extremely opaque about what you're supposed to go do next. Like it makes like Dragon Quest 2 sometimes seem like very clear about what you're supposed to do next. It's rough on this front. But then you go to Windia, which is another one of my favorite sequences in the game. Because you guys might remember from the last episode, like Nina was born in Windia, but she had these black wings. And there's this legend, the person with black wings is going to destroy the city. And so she's outcast instead of being killed. They say they killed her, but they don't. And you realize that like she needs to go get the power to fly, but it's going to turn her sort of into a bird permanently with, I believe, the actual like original Nina from Breath of Fire 1 seems to be the one that she's talking to in these, but I'm not sure because she talks about falling in love with a human at some point. I don't know. I'm not super clear on whether it's the original Nina or not, but there are a couple things I like about it. Like I like the relationship with Nina and her father and her mom. I think it's really sweet in terms of what they're trying to do for her. Obviously, Mina comes back in a big way here. But there's also, for me, the hardest part of the whole freaking game. It's extremely brief, actually, which is annoying. Nina has to go through a solo dungeon. And I hadn't leveled her for a while. She's like level 26 walking through this place. And there's like regular enemies that will just like one-shot you with a regular attack. And I was like, I just got through there by the skin of my teeth. It's like, I'm not using rewind. I'll take the hit on the money if I have to. But yeah, it was hard. But at the end, when Nina is supposed to transform into the bird, instead her sister goes to do it instead. And she eventually becomes like sort of your flying, thing in this game. But I think that part where like Nina is like trying to smash through the doors is actually really powerful, especially because we've gotten to know Mina pretty well through this game, right? She's like the first quest we get. Yeah. And I think that I think it's really good. Even the localization can't ruin the power of this moment for me.
Yeah,
I agree. No, that was like the emotional high point for me too.
Yeah, I mean the music and her hitting the door and just the whole scene, the mood is really. We Mina like from the beginning and some other scenes, but I guess she doesn't, like most characters in the game, they don't get a ton of screen time, but I think it still lands pretty well. Maybe because of just everything you've seen when you've been in Windy at this time and know more about her family. And yeah, I mean, it was a good job. I got emotional again. It's very sad. It's very sweet.
It's one of the great curveballs that the game throws. Like I love like when a game wakes you up in the middle of the night with like an unexpected plot point. So like you retrieve the item with Nina from the dungeon that lets her transform into the great bird, and then as you sleep with your party, Mina sneaks in the night and takes it and runs to the top of the tower, and you're like chasing her through the castle. And then banging on the door and everything. I thought that was like so effectively done. And yeah, for me too, like with less maybe emotional investment in the game than you guys had, like as kids, I thought it was like a really well done moment. And I was like, wow, like it made me sit up and think like that was really good. That was probably the best moment in the game for me too.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree though that dungeon before can be very tough if you don't level. See, I did level Nina though. Maybe I should have been using blue this whole time, but I pretty much never take Nina out of my party. So I had a little bit of an easier time.
It was the right call, dude. I mean, for this dungeon?
Yeah. I mean, in the past, though, I have not leveled as much. So I've definitely had the harder experience in here.
I mean, it's funny because like as I was in there and as it started happening to me, I was like, oh, God, I remember this. Oh, God, this is happening again. It's like time is a flat circle. What is happening? Oh, my God. Yeah, it was rough. She was within, I think, 1 HP 3 times as I was walking through there. Ooh. And because I was like, oh, I see treasure chests. I got to go get those, even though like I can't handle these random encounters. It was bad.
The like floating ball thing is getting in the way, like kind of like Link to the Past style, right? They're like pushing you around. But I gave Nina the chop spell from like the cat cafe thing earlier in the game, the cat restaurant, the wild.
Man, I totally did not do that and forgot about it, and I wish I had.
I forgot
because it's so good.
Yeah,
it helped me out a lot just because like otherwise, I would have run out of AP so quickly, and like that was like, and I was very liberally using the rewind feature because I'm like I'm not gonna let this game push me around. Like come on. So yeah, that was really tough, but I don't think it was as tough like in terms of grinding as like the Sten section earlier. But I mean, yeah, if I hadn't put Nina in my party the whole game, it would have been really tough, I think.
Yeah, I struggled with it a lot, but
yeah, I do like.
Actually,
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, if you can get through the room and get the chest and talk to the statues, like, I do think all the statues and all the dialogue in Windy leading up to this point is maybe one of the reasons that the whole thing with Mina works so well, because they really do. I guess it's kind of an exposition dump, at least it's from these statues and old lore and stuff, but like they really do instill like in you like what this means to become this and be this, and what our people used to be, and how you're not you anymore. So I think that's why like all that really came together really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, given how fast it all happens, like we're talking like an hour of playtime, right?
Yeah.
Like it reminds me of SNES efficiency, right? Think about something like Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger, where they pack so much power into such a short period of time, right? Think even about like the early, like the Suikoden games, like power in efficiency, and it's something that's been lost. And I think that here, even I wish I'd been able to play it in the original Japanese. I imagine it'd be even more powerful.
Yeah. Come on, Matt, you got to do it for us.
Yeah. Maybe I'll watch that scene on YouTube in Japanese.
Okay. Yeah.
Let you know.
Yeah.
But can I talk really quickly? Like I wanted to ask, like with the mechanic that you mentioned earlier, the one that helps turn township into an airship, Chichi, her name is. Do you have to find her? Like I know, like if you want to get the good ending of the game, you have to get her. But like, is she required to progress in the game? Because I didn't get her until like the very, very end.
She's not required to progress. No.
Okay.
But she is required for Gainer, I believe, to be able to become part of the flying apparatus, I believe.
Okay. Because can I like complain about how like obscure it was to find her? Like she's in the back house in Gunts, the city of Gunts. You go into the blacksmith shop. Behind a bookshelf, there's a hidden staircase that you can't see. And then in the hidden staircase basement room, she's also hiding in like the lower portion of the screen that you can't see again. And I'm like, how in the world would anybody find this without like a Prima Strata guide or something like that? I'm like, that was so vague.
I didn't.
Go ahead, Mike.
This playthrough. I forgot. Okay. When you guys were talking about it now, I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't done that yet. I'm like, why can't I get this guy to come into the well here? I'm like, oh right, because I need this person. She is mentioned. I remember the first time I went to Gunts, someone says like, oh yeah, there's this person. They mentioned her name, and I'm like looking around the town. I'm like, there's only 3 buildings. She's not here. So I'm like, probably a translation problem. And I left.
I believe, actually, I know that there is a wise tree that mentions her specifically and also mentions how to get down there.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, again, this is something that I know I found as a kid. So like, it's a thing, because if you don't have that flying town, the end game becomes very annoying.
Yeah.
For reasons that we'll discuss in a moment here. But yeah, it's definitely hinted. You're definitely given the information, but you have to hunt for it. And I'm not saying that it's done in a fair way, because while to some degree I'm like, hey, that's just the way games were. Like you had to go explore everything. You had to go talk to everybody. You had to remember everything. But in this case, I believe it's a wise tree that is like literally right next to the town. I think you can only get to with either the bird or Jean. Obviously, I got to it with Jean, I believe. I could be wrong though.
If it's Gunts, then yeah, I mean you get there with the whale.
Yeah, but I think there's a tree that's sitting up on a ledge that you could only get to if you were using Jean's ability.
Oh, I see.
With no forest around it, right? Like you don't need a spar to get to it. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then that's a different one, because the one by Gunts is just like right there by the town.
Okay. Yeah, I could be. Okay. I also could be misremembering. Please, some listener, tell me why I'm wrong. But that's just my memory.
Yeah. I get it. It's like it's done to like flesh out the game length. Like back then, it's like kids only had so many games, but like playing it from a modern perspective. Like I mean, Wild Arms 1 did the same thing a lot, and I was like, okay, come on, like you expect me to wander aimlessly around this world full of random battles? Like I don't have the time now as an adult, a working adult, but as a kid, maybe I would have appreciated that kind of like that sense of discovery, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was something that like I would talk about with like my cousin. We would like figure it out together, like it was a communal thing too.
Yeah.
The same way that you were talking earlier about like how when you were a kid, like Fallout New Vegas is a great playground game.
Yeah.
Like for me, like this was a great quote unquote playground game. Like we figured it out together. And we would just kind of experiment and see what stuck. So again, I'm not defending it necessarily, but I do think that was just part of game design back then. But I do think it was done better elsewhere. Like if you go back and play like the NES Dragon Quest 3, or even that to some degree, they do a better job of signposting you in ways that are logical.
Mm.
But yes, I understand your criticism.
Mm. Yeah, just of its time. So like I get it,
Yeah, it's fair. But yeah, I mean, like after this, you get the ability to fly, which is like super cool. Like you get the ability to go to that island that's like off, like in the southeast part of the ocean, that has that super overpowered gear. Which I went to go to that immediately because I remembered it was there, and I bought like something really good, and I kept coming back to it to buy some more stuff that was really good. You can also go fish for the Empire Sword, which is the best sword in the whole game at this point. It's very exciting, which makes it even more disappointing when it's taken away from you. But yeah, we'll get into that. But the main point of you getting that bird, of course, is to go off to Avrai, which is the city of St. Eva. And when you go in there, everybody is, of course, a devout follower. Their hearts have been given to St. Eva. And you can't really do anything while you're there because you can't go into the church. You're kind of walking around, and then you like try to leave, and you're like, nope, not allowed to leave. Once you're part of this religion, we'll say kindly, you aren't allowed to leave. And so, but eventually you find someone who is not a believer, and then you escape through a toilet, which I remembered. I was playing it. I was like, I'm pretty sure that I'm like, how do I get out of here, Alana? And she's like, I don't know. She's never played it before. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I jumped through a toilet. I was right. And you get out through a toilet in a dungeon that is insufferably horrible because like there's nothing in it. Like, because I know because I walked through it a bunch and I actually died here twice. There's a dungeon that like there's nothing there, but like the enemies hit like a truck, and you're just kind of walking around. And if you know where you're going, which eventually I figured it out, you can get out in like 2 screens. But I walked through like 16 different screens, and that was very frustrating.
No, it's tough, and it's one of those things you have no exit. So like if you, I don't know what happens if you I guess you just die if you run out of
that's what happened to me
items.
Twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another weird design choice, but it also this is the second time that you use like a hidden toilet exit, right? Like, don't you do the same thing in Jean's castle? So ever since you pointed it out to me, Mike, like the houses are so realistic, and like I do kind of appreciate that now. I'm like, oh yeah, they have like every little piece of furniture that they need. It is weird that they took so much care with that, and then like so little care into like, hey, should we make this dungeon, I don't know, fun or fair? Like, it's like, why is that something that they didn't care about?
Right. Oh, right. Yeah. Actually, I talked about that off air last time, huh? No, you know what?
Okay.
This has nothing to do with anything except the toilet is a good segue. But I really do like that about this game. It's a weird little touch, but like even when I was younger, I would think like it doesn't bother me. But you play through RPGs and you go to these villages and you have a house, and it's like so many houses are like a single room, and there's like 2 parents and their little kids running around, and there's like it's just a square room with 1 bed. And I'm like, okay, cool, this is just a video game house. Like, I get it. No one here actually sleeps or needs a bathroom or a kitchen or anything. But in this game, like, the houses have kitchens and they have beds, that correspond to how many people are living there, and there's bathrooms. So it's like, yeah, it's a really strange and weirdly delightful, at least to me, thing that they really design these houses like to be lived in, because a lot of times you just don't get that in games.
My biggest criticism of Final Fantasy is, where does Sid take a dump? In this game.
yeah, exactly. So 7 is not one of the ones I was going to give an example for.
I was going to make some joke about the way that he treats his wife in that game, but I'll leave that. He's so terrible. He's so much better in Rebirth, man. He's so much better in Rebirth.
Good. Yeah. But yeah, anyway, that's my town thing. That city really creeps me out. I guess you could probably just walk around and like try to leave, and then you find out you can't. But I am one of the people that I like to talk to everyone. So if you go and talk to everyone, it's like everyone has their own story. One guy, it's like, oh, I couldn't get a girlfriend until I found religion, because that's how that works. And then just
unfortunately, I have been part of religious communities enough to be able to tell you that sometimes it is how it works.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
But continue.
Yeah, but like I like that everyone has had something different to say. and like why they're here and why they believe. Like, all right, and it's like it's fine. It's just like, yeah, all right, this is for you, okay. And then when you try to leave, the regular town music that's playing up to that point completely cuts out. It's silent. You can't leave. And interestingly, the dragon tear and the mood ring thing, which doesn't come into play a lot during the game, but as you're talking to everyone the first time, it's like orange or something, orange or red, or it varies a little bit, like a mid-range mood. And then when you can't leave, you go talk to everyone again. They all have different dialogue. All the mood rings are black. And like the kids and stuff are just laughing. They don't say anything. A couple of people will just say, it's like, oh, wow, it's so cold here now. Totally, like, it got me now as how like just the tonal shift is like so intense. But I remember like really being like freaked out of that as a kid too.
Yeah, it's like Children of the Corn kind of vibes, like the haunted town thing. Yeah, I love that too. That was like another effective part of the game. It's like the second half, they really start like letting loose with like the creativity. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that was a great highlight as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's just excellent game design. Really, it's, you know, and I think that it's going right for the throat too, right? Like it's not holding back. It's so coded for Western Christianity, and it's like coming right at it. It's like, oh, there are all these people who are like, I filled a hole in my life with Jesus, right? And then it's like, well, let's look at what these people really feel like on the inside sometimes. I'm not saying it's accurate for most people. Please don't take it that way. But I do think that from this game's perspective, like it's going hard. I think it's one of the most effective moments of the game. And I think that like this whole game in general, like I don't want to get too far ahead, but like some of the weird stuff that Death Evan says to you at the very end, like is kind of like weirdly nonsensical. Like, and like sometimes the localization, like it's just a little bit off for obvious reasons, but like the whole game just always feels off to me. You know what I mean? Like I always feel creeped out when I'm playing this game. Like Barrowberry just sort of sits over the whole game. And I know as I'm playing it, like he's coming back, man. And then like all this weird stuff happens, and people say weird stuff that sometimes doesn't make sense for good or bad reasons. And I think this is like sort of like the apotheosis of that. I think it's fantastic.
If it came out a decade later, there would be like a million creepypastas about it. I feel like
I can see that.
Know? Yeah, I wish they played into that. Like what was his name? Like, yeah, you said like the fear monster in the beginning. If he was like more reoccurring, that would be, make it even more effective.
Like sort of like having dreams of him throughout. Oh, yeah, that would really work, I think. But you do get to leave through a toilet. Somehow that's the most pleasant part of this place. And you come out at Cotland, I think. Or do you actually come out in Cotland? I can't remember where you come out.
You come out in like the hotel outside of the.
Oh, yeah. Okay. But then you're directed by the woman who sort of directed you out to Cotland, which is like sort of this group of like, you know, anti-Ava thief type people. And you meet someone named Tyga, who I really want to know what his original name was, because it can't have been Tyga. It's so bad.
it definitely is Tyga. I know, like, there's so many kids named
Seriously?
Tyga here. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's cool. I'm glad to know it. But he's in the same quote unquote tribe as Kat, and he's got the hots for Kat, man. And the fact that she's like kind of okay with it, like, I don't know. I usually I'm like, hey, I'm glad that Kat hit the old man, but here I'm like, this dude is coming on to you in such a hard way that I can't imagine any woman I know being okay with it, but cool.
Well, remember, she's very stupid by her own admission.
Yeah.
That was not. So that didn't jive with her attitude towards the other guys. So.
The difference is the old men are ugly and Tyga is hot. That's why.
Oh gosh, please get off 4chan. Please. But after this, like, you have to go to the Thieves' Tomb, which I don't remember anything about it. But eventually, like, the idea is that you have to figure out how you're going to get back into Evrai. And I think that you have to go through a dungeon that is like, you go to the southern tip of that continent, right? And then like everybody's gone. They've all left for Evrai. And you have to go through a dungeon there, right? But like Tyga and Kat kind of figure out how to do it. It's been a minute, so I might not quite remember this.
Yeah, well, you find out, like, you can go to Bando earlier, and it's just like, it's a church, and everyone's like, oh yeah, this is a really tiny church where everyone knows it so well, because they find out it's like, you know, has direct ties to the grand church. So like you meet the resistance movement there at a time when Kat is unfortunately not in your party because she's with the other guy. But yeah, that's how you end up there.
But
I think some of that was better than, I don't know. Overall, I don't like it. It's really just like, oh, you're the only other cat person, and she's like, oh yeah, and you're the only other cat person. It is kind of weird that they did the whole backstory in a whole town full of people where Sten is from, and then these two are like, oh, we're from the same tribe. I'm like, where is that tribe? I feel like maybe there was more to that. Like, are you the last two? Because not saying that you should be attracted to someone if they're the only other cat person left, but maybe there's something to that. Like if they are the only people left in that tribe, like I can see you would have that connection.
I'm an advocate for the racial purity of the cat people myself, but I agree though. What I liked about the Thieves Guild, like about Taiga's little gang, is that it's the only time in the entire game where you see like the various races coming together. Like they use there's a monkey guy, there's a cat guy.
Yeah.
That didn't even occur to me. That's a good point. Yeah.
It made the world feel a little more like connected than it had before that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I like that.
Can we talk about, like, are we at the part where you have to go through the rigmarole to like uncover the information? You have to like research the spoiler alert, the St. Ava's church.
Yeah, I mean, this is where you have to do it. I remembered, so I didn't bother, but yeah, that's where you have to do it.
That was, come on. I mean, like, I had to go back to the hometown to donate 20 times like you did with the Earth Shaman. That took I feel like that took like 15 minutes of clicking A. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why not just let me donate, like, set a number, And then you donate a set amount of number, 2,000 gold. And then he goes, oh, here's a book. Here's a Bible, St. Evan's Bible. And I'm like, oh, the big reveal is that St. Ava, the real name is Evan. I'm like, really? Like, I spent
and
like
then
20
when
minutes.
you actually go fight the final boss, it's Death Evan with no second vowel.
I'm like, come on. Like, that just felt like such a, like putting you through the rigmarole just to like bloat the game out a little bit more. And I'm like, come on. Like, that was a bit cheap.
I didn't do it. I got all the way up to the church. I'm like, oh right, because it was like between play sessions, like a day apart. I'm like, oh yeah, I was supposed to go talk and do research. I'm like, I'll just see what happens, and I just guessed.
And if you get it wrong, you just have to fight one guy anyway, right?
Oh,
like
is
one
it?
guard?
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's like way like in terms of your real world time and your in-game money, like it's way better to just go and like try anything.
Yeah. I mean, I do think it's really funny, though, because when I was this time playing through it, because as I remembered, I forgot to go do the research step. When you have everyone quoting, it's like, oh, he's going to say a line, and I have to say the follow-up line. I'm like, oh, boy, I should have done that. But when he gets to your party, he's like, oh, well, that's all I had. I guess I'll just ask you a single question. I thought that was pretty generous of them.
I do think that this part also, I keep saying this part rips.
Yeah.
Like when you get to the church, like it's so good because like you're there and they'd captured the woman who helped you get out of Evrai the first time. And like, he's basically like, he's reading like the priest who's up there, who's like, obviously like the head priest of like the St. Ava church, like the Pope of the St. Ava church. He's reading her mind and he knows that you guys are in the back. And it's like, it's creepy. Like I forgot that happened. And I was like, oh, okay. And then obviously you have to go through a dungeon, and then through that dungeon, like you're going up there to try to save Rand's mom. You find her, but then as you're coming out, like it starts going Final Fantasy IV style. The walls start coming in on you. And this time, Rand's mom has to save you, which is an extremely emotional moment. And then you eventually have to fight this like monstrosity that like sort of at the center of it is a dude who looks familiar. It's your dad from the very beginning of the game. There's just like a lot of stuff that happens here. And I think that it really, really powerfully, even if it's not even necessarily through gameplay, but just through like storytelling and surprises, like shows you the power of the church, shows you like the twists they're willing to go through here. And it doesn't really tell you that it's your dad, but like if you're paying attention, I remember when I first played it, like as a kid, I was like, oh, that looks like my dad.
Yeah.
And it's really powerful. Like I think I keep saying that because I just the more I played this game, the more I liked it.
And
Again,
let's give some love to like the scene in the church, like the creepiness, like as you're walking, you keep getting interrupted by like the speech bubbles of the entire congregation, repeating after his name is Habaruku, the like Pope guy. But then the scene where he like uses his magic powers in front of everybody to kill Clarice and Taiga, that scene was fantastic, where like the little touch where Taiga's like crumpled sprite on the ground is crawling towards Clarice, and then he like the Pope erases them with like the lightning spell. That like jolted me. I was like, holy cow, like they just straight up murdered them. Like that was pulling no punches. I thought that was a great scene too, on par with like the Mina turning into the bird scene.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, there's so much that happens here, and I think, Zach, you described it well, because they're showing you like the power of this organization and this priest and all that, but also what the developers were willing to do with the game. They're like, yeah, and I've said it before about other things. Like, I don't think a character death is always what you should lean on in a story. Like some stories where they do that too much. Like, okay, well, that's just, I don't know. Like it loses me at a certain point. Like there's other ways to create drama or stakes. But you know, they haven't done that in this game. So to get to this point, and you know, these are, as far as side characters go, major enough. So the fact that they're willing to do that to two characters immediately, followed by, well, three, well, two, there's two, and then you fight Ray, which is very interesting. I forgot his whole deal until this playthrough again. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to sacrifice him too in a way, but for a very different reason than the others. Like it really raises the stakes. You're like, oh, well, now I don't know. Like, I don't know how far they're willing to go with certain things. And then of course it culminates in that boss fight, which I am always extremely careful about, because I think he can take some amount of damage, but not much. But I
don't think you can't fire any of your dragons at him. You can do like a baby dragon at one of the individual things, but I don't think he has more than like 300 HP.
Yeah, so like
he doesn't have much.
No dragons, none of Nina's area effect spells. Because I remember doing that and like, okay, I learned, don't do spells. I don't want to hurt this guy. And then the next step is, once you learn that, don't have everyone attack the same one too many times in a row, because if it dies and the next person goes, they might default and hit him anyway. So I'm like spreading out my damage and trying to get the one that heals. And I mean, it's cool. Like, I'm not complaining about it. I think it really makes you like careful about how you do it. And you don't, you can end the fight either way. Obviously, one way is preferable. It's tough.
Speaking of like the thematic darkness, like right after this scene where like 4 major characters die in the church, you have Gaynor like pleading for his death. He's like, kill me before the demon wakes up. And like, this game is rated K to A, like kids to adults, right? Which like, I was like, holy crap, like this is really dark. But can I appreciate too, like also with Daisy, Rand's mom, like her scene, she comes in and like you already think that Rand is sacrificing himself, and then she comes in and like that emotional scene of like you can do it, push, and he's like, I can't. And the fact that the party leaves, they go upstairs because Rand is like, don't watch me die. And they don't know that Daisy is there. So like when Rand comes upstairs and they're like, Rand, you're alive, he's just like, let's get him. Like, I loved that scene where like they didn't dwell on like my mom passed away. Like, I thought that was such a impactful moment. I'm like, holy crap, like this game was really holding back until the final 5 hours. Now it's like balls to the wall intensity. Like I did really love that. And I'm also like you, Mike. I am 0% affected by any death in fiction. I'm like, okay, great. Like I don't think I've once cried about a character dying in anything, but that like
there's a gap between what Mike said and what you just said.
I'm not going that far with that.
I'm not a sociopath.
Like, I am a cold-hearted sociopath who cares nothing. I have things I want to say to you right now, but I can't because I know Mike is playing it. But come on.
No, you know what? Like, okay, the things that get me are like I'll be like, oh wow, like that was really well done. But the thing that makes me emotional in fiction is like playing on other emotions, where like, For example, like people sacrificing themselves, even if they die or not. Like, so her mom, Rand's mom, jumping in, that affected me more emotionally than like any point in the game. I think I was like, wow, like the selflessness really, you know.
Yeah.
But
I think that selflessness sort of becomes like sort of a theme. Like it's what Mina does, right? Like it's definitely a thing that you see more of. It's very powerful. I agree with you. I have nothing to add to everything you guys just said. I totally forgot that the Ray thing happened in the middle of all this. Like it's like 17 like major things happen.
Yeah, and he's just like, I think it's well done because he's like, okay, I'm going to show you my power, and you're like, oh no, like he's going to turn into a demon. I think it's clever that they didn't have his sprite change there, and the reveal is when you get into the battle, and you're like, oh, he's something else. Yeah,
the fact that he's just like you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And earlier in the game, he's like, I hope that like he goes, one day we will see eye to eye. And then like he calls back to that before you fight him. He's like, I thought we would see eye to eye transform. I really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he sort of coaches you on how to pull out your ultimate spell. And the last thing he says to you is like, you know, I hope that you guys manage to find or create a god that everyone can really believe in. So I think that, you know, Ray is a weird character. It's like he's around a lot, but like he doesn't really get any real time. But I remember the first time I saw him as I was going through the playthrough this time, I was like, oh yeah, it's Ray. I love Ray. And it's cool. But that also brings us to the end game because we get sort of booted from here and realize that like we need to go back to Gate. This is where everything really started because Gaynor tells us that he tells us the backstory of what happened, which is that, you know, demons attacked the town while Ryu was asleep. It's a bad coincidence for Ryu, or a good one, I guess, depending on your perspective. While Ryu was asleep at the very beginning when everybody forgot him, and then they captured Gaynor and they wiped the memory of everybody in the town. Which turned out to be a poor choice for the demons of Deathaven. But that at that point, it's like, okay, well, that means that like this power is sitting behind the gate in Gate. Great name. Great name. And you also at that point, like if you saved Gaynor and you also have a Ketchy or whatever her name is, you can also, your town can fly, which at that point seems totally pointless because you're like, I can fly with the bird. I don't have to literally walk through the town, walk down into the well, go up, talk to a Ketchy and get her to fly. But soon enough, that will actually be very valuable to you, which is extremely annoying. But when you get to Gate, they're like, oh, we've made a horrible mistake after trying to bomb. They try to bomb the dragon because the idea is that they think that the dragon is trying to, because remember there's a dragon that's like sort of at the north end of town. The dragon is the one that's really draining these trees around town. But the priest says like, no, I realized we made a horrible mistake after they did it because things open up. And he's like, look, we need someone who knows everything about this dragon. There's this girl named Patty who knows everything about this dragon. And then you have to go off and search for Patty. But before we get into that, I want to talk about one mechanic thing real quick, because this is the point at which you get, if you're kind of going along with the game, you get the final shaman. We haven't talked about shamans a whole lot yet, which is the shaman system where you can mix and match different shamans of different like elements, like holy or demon, I believe is the one, or devil. You have fire shamans, you have wind shamans. And some of the shamans, if you combine them correctly, with different characters, they actually transform. And usually those transformations are much more powerful than the non-transformed versions. So you can turn Sten into a warrior. You can turn Spar into like, I don't know, a bunch of other stuff, I think. You could turn Rand into somehow what is a more powerful thing, but also looks like a mouse. And this is my first time ever getting Rand into a mouse, because you have to have the Earth Shaman to have Rand as a mouse.
Yep.
And it is more powerful. But you can also turn Cat into a freaking monster, man. The demon with like literally almost any shaman. Like I use the fire shaman because it increased her attack more. Putting that on her, and then her special ability does like, if you hit it, the next turn she's going to do 3 times the amount of damage. You throw attack up on her from blue, and then she's hit like 800 damage like in every other turn, which is extremely powerful in this game. But there's also some things about the shaman system that are extremely freaking annoying. Like if you get to low HP, the shaman might just disappear.
Yeah.
If you die,
Yep.
the shaman's gone.
Yep.
And in the final dungeon, which we'll talk about in a minute here, there's a part where you have to like go talk to your whole party. And it's halfway through the final freaking dungeon, which is really long. And it takes all your shamans away. Like, what are you doing, game? The shaman system, I think, is really cool, as Matt has put many times, is very cool in theory and is maybe not as cool in practice.
To be honest with you guys, I used the shaman system like a couple times in the beginning. I did not even engage with it. Like I didn't even bother getting the earth shaman. I'm like, nah, because I know like anytime that the character in battle, when their sprite changes. So yeah, if you go low HP, if you get turned into a zombie or something like that, it's gone. And it's like, I have to fly all the way back to not hometown, township, talk to the shaman again, go through that whole rigmarole. Like it just felt unnecessary to me, or like not worth it. I'm like I might do incrementally more damage, but like I just didn't want to rely on that every time. So I didn't really engage with that system.
Oh, I do. It is annoying. I agree, though. It's funny because where we left off after the first episode, we only had 2, and you can get the other. You can get one of them. I guess no. Actually, I guess we could have had maybe had 3. No, because you get the wind one when you do the Sky Tower, which we didn't even talk about Sky Tower, but it's not very interesting.
I side note, I'll edit this out, Paul, but like I apologize for people letting off fireworks like a door down from me right now. So just ignore them. I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't even hear it.
Yeah, I don't hear it.
Okay. I can see it coming through in the waveform.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, just my apologies. Anyway, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, so you get the wind shaman in Sky Tower, and then the other 3, so like half of them in the game are not available till the very end. So it's like, I do like the system. I like the idea. The concept of the system is cool. I really, I've said before, the look of this game, the sprite work is great. I absolutely love the design of the transformation characters, like Nina especially. They're all really cool. Like if you didn't lose them at low HP or in just certain cutscenes, sometimes they want the characters to look normal in cutscenes, and you're like, okay, that's fine. And then you get out of the cutscene, you're like, oh, I have to go redo all those now. Like, I don't know why.
I think it's anytime they're removed from your party in like in-game engine.
Yeah.
That's what does it.
So it's like, there's a lot of the way they did it is unfortunate, but I do keep them up and apply them whenever I can. So like I have my main party is Kat, Nina, and Rand, which is great because for their transformations, you need, earth and water on Rand and holy and wind on Nina. And I have the last 2, fire and devil on Kat. So like I can use all of them and have 3 transformed characters as long as they don't take too much damage. So yeah, I think it's too late game and it's too finicky. So I understand the issues with it, but which is too bad because I like that. I like it otherwise.
Yep, another good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I didn't care, but I remembered how much of a beast it made Kat into.
Yeah.
And she's already your best physical attacker, and it makes her into like by far your best damage output in the very, very, very late game. And in that freaking dungeon, it matters.
Yeah.
It would have mattered all the way throughout. But to come back to where we were, we get back to Gate, like, okay, go find Patty. And it says she's part of she knows a lot about the dragon. And you're like, why would Patty, this thief from the very beginning of the game, know about this? And it's funny, as a kid, never occurred to me in a million years that she was Yua.
Nope.
Not until
me either.
She gets back. Like, well, she knows a lot about it. That's weird. Cool. I guess I'll go find this girl who looks like she's slightly younger than Ryu and also has the same kind of color hair. And you have to run around to like 700 different places to find her. But then you find her and she's like, oh my gosh, the dragon. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I would just say that it is an annoying but kind of entertaining throwback to the first half of the game.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was fun to go back to like the cooking place and, the thieves' tomb or whatever. It wasn't too bad because do you still have the bird at this point? You do.
You do, I think.
You still have the bird
Yes.
because the final dungeon hasn't actually opened up yet.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you go and you get her and she comes back and it turns out that the quote unquote priest of Gate is not the priest of Gate. Not even like the one that you remember from the beginning of the game. This is Habaruku. This is the Pope. Has lured you here so that you could get the blood of the Dragon Clan to open the gate, which the dragon has been protecting for so many years. And then, the dragon wakes up a little bit. She kind of throws Patty away. And then you get into what for me was one of the hardest fights in the entire game, which is against Habaruku, because I didn't have Cure 3 yet. Let me tell you, this game needs to give you an all heal a little bit earlier, just a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like even like 2 levels earlier would have been enough.
What is it, like level 35? Like most characters unlock it around there.
On Rand, yeah.
And then Bo as well gets it. Like
he gets Cure 3 at 35 and then Cure 4 at like 37 or something. Like they're really close together, but like a little too high up there.
Bo gets Cure 4 first. He gets like Cure 4 like pretty early, and then like 3 comes much later, like 10 levels later. I'm like, what happened to 3? But I thought it was a little bit weird that like with the whole Patty being Yua thing, they didn't like ever really outright confirm it. I feel like, except for like the line where when the dragon tosses her off into the forest, she goes like big brother, help me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, and then she just doesn't appear again, right? Like in the ending sequence, I feel like, I wish
the fact that she never comes back, I think is really weird. I agree with you.
Yeah. Cause it's like, we spend the whole game looking for her ostensibly, but it's like Ryu seems to care very little about finding his family. You know what I mean? And also, like in Japanese, like if she would have said like "Big brother, help me," like that could easily be misconstrued as like "man who is young but older than me, please help me." You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's even more subtle in the Japanese version. But
so she might not have even used it in like a familial term. Huh.
Yeah, it's even more like unconfirmed, I guess, right? But
yeah. That fight, I definitely remember being harder. But again, I know I keep saying it, but like the GBA one, more experience. So like, I feel like for every time I feel like I'm over leveled, I'll be like, oh, well, that fight wasn't as hard. And then I take 2 steps into the next dungeon and I'm like, well, I guess I need more levels again. Although when random enemies can just constantly cast death on you, it doesn't really matter what level you are.
I mean, I'm glad that your experience, Mike, was all sunshine and rainbows, but I feel like...
well, no, only sometimes.
I feel like for a week of my life, like leading up to the recording of this one, I like spent every night falling asleep on the couch, grinding on Monster Island. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just trying to catch up so I could continue in the story.
Well, that's how you're supposed to do it the first time. So, like, I'm not trying to say, like, oh, you should have done what I did. Like, because what you did now, I did in the 90s. And I don't want to do it again. I'm okay. Playing this version.
You've been initiated already.
This
was my, like,
it's funny.
Coming of age.
It's funny because, like, the only time I really remember grinding is after this fight. Because I was like, okay, I need an all heal. And I didn't look up stuff very often, but this time I was like, I'm looking this up. It's like, oh, Rand gets it at 35. He's at level 32 right now. That sucks. Because I was kind of switching him and Nina out as time went. But then I got to the final dungeon and they were giving me more experience than Giant's Island was. And they were less of a pain because there's that bug on Giant's Island that took like 17 hits to kill. It was extremely obnoxious.
Unless you
Death
use,
didn't work on it.
Bow's shot will work on it sometimes. There's like
but I don't want to use Bow. Bow's useless. So hey. I know he's not actually. You get him so late that I always feel like he's useless.
Hey, he's your buddy. Buddy. He says all the time.
Yeah. Sort of like a dog bite, I guess. But anyway, point is that like for me, like for the most part, like if the entire party got the experience, I actually think the experience curve in this game would be okay. But it's the fact that you have like those solo fights with Rand and Nina and Sten that I'm like, okay, come on. Like I used Nina like sparingly, but I used her and she still was getting obliterated. Sten was still would have gotten obliterated. Rand, I used a lot. Otherwise, he would have gotten obliterated by that paladin. But like, I think that the balancing of it with the number of encounters, again, you can argue the encounter rate's too high. I agree. You can argue that it doesn't tell you where to go often enough. But the fact that it doesn't tell you where to go often enough, at least as a kid, like caused me to walk around a lot. So I gained a lot more levels. So I think it's sort of balanced around it. Maybe not balanced around mechanics that we like or we enjoy nowadays, but I actually don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. And I think like the Zenny in particular, like by the time I was walking into the final dungeon, I was able to buy everything from that blacksmith in Windia who I had in my town, and from that island. I think it's called Ghoul Island.
Oh, is it really?
From that island,
Okay.
yeah, because there's like an enemy that can spawn there that drops the best shield in the game, but like it's very rare. I again, this is all stuff I looked up afterwards, but I think that it's sort of balanced around that idea that you would be lost a lot of the game. But I still think the fact that you can walk into a place, and if I hadn't used Nina for as long as I didn't have to use her, I would have been totally screwed. So, yeah, I think that for the most part it's okay, but I mostly agree.
They do build in like a few checkpoints, like at times of the game, like I mentioned with like Sten having that very cheap hotel and like the little mini dungeon that he can grind in. So like I feel like they did play test it enough to be like, okay, you're never going to be hard locked out of finishing the game. And even in like the Infinity Dungeon, you reach a certain point where there's like a fountain right next to like a replenishing fountain right next to a dragon shrine. And at that point, I checked, you can actually use the exit spell, like the magic exit spell. You can go out of the dungeon that way.
Oh yeah,
if you do need items, but that means you also have to walk all the way through it again.
You can buy items in the town that is halfway down as well.
Okay, great.
One of the NPCs sells items there.
The Dragon Island or the Dragon Town. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like at this point, obviously we're walking into Infinity, and Infinity is, I mean, that's an appropriate name for this freaking dungeon, man. It feels so long, especially the second half of it after you get, because it's like so maze-like, and there's like these like things that you can like warp on, but sometimes you can warp, sometimes you can't warp. It's extremely frustrating, but there's also some great gear in there. Some stuff that you can't buy elsewhere. I actually got a really lucky drop and got Cat's best stick for one of the enemies in here, which was extremely helpful for the last two bosses. But yeah, halfway down, you get to the place where the dragon clan has been living for the last any number of years, and you sort of discover the backstory of what's happening with this town. That they realized there was this great evil growing underground, but that it didn't have a shape yet. So they had to be ready for it when it did take shape before it started to try to come back up. They sent up your mom, probably, 20-ish years ago to deal with, sort of understanding what humanity was like and what the world looked like to kind of prepare for it. But then she falls in love with Gainer, who's your father, who's also a priest of Saint Ava. And actually one of the best scenes in the game, a scene that I thought was lovely, is that it's a little on the nose, but I still think is lovely. Your mom is praying in front of the dragon god statue, and Gander comes up and he makes a joke like, "Oh, I'm a priest of Saint Ava. You can't do this." And she's like, "But." He's like, "No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, we whatever gives us happiness, whatever gives us joy, is what we should pray to."
That was sweet,
and I think it's a great scene. And it's really brief and subtle, but I don't think this game is thematically great because like around that same time, like you have to like choose to like not sacrifice yourself. You have to choose to sacrifice yourself hypothetically to get the ultimate dragon spell. But like it's like, oh, the journey was really about the friends you made along the way. Like this game really didn't emphasize that point at all. It's very JRPG of you. Congratulations, but like it's not. Like I don't feel like the relationships between these people were ever emphasized ever.
No.
It was more like individual power, like aside from relying on a god. I feel like that's what they were leading up to. But yeah, they reverted to like the JRPG, like friendship is magic.
Yeah, I agree. Or even like the idea of we accepting other belief systems, that would have all worked.
Yeah,
that's why that whole scene where like you have to go walk. It takes forever too. You have to walk up with all these different characters and choose not to sacrifice them, but sacrifice yourself. Blah blah blah. I think it's lame.
I kind of like that scene, although it was like tonally, like the characters again were like tonally inconsistent. Like Jean drops some like very profound wisdom out of nowhere, and I'm like, okay. Meanwhile, Rand is like, gee, before I met you, I was bored. Now I'm not bored. And I'm like, that's your big speech at the end. Like you were, you learned nothing. But I did like, it reminded me of like the ending of like Ursula K. Le Guin's Tales from Earthsea, like that, or A Wizard of Earthsea, like that ending where it's like the very Jungian, like face yourself, face your shadow kind of moment. I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, mature for like a kid's game again.
Yeah. I think if you ever go into township and go talk to your party members or anyone, any of your friends in the house, like there's so much, and I never do it. I always forget to do it, but they all have dialogue related to what's going on at the time. I think there was the potential, and maybe they were counting on you doing that more, and that brings the characters together a little bit, even though again they're only talking to you, they don't really have relationships with each other. But like maybe if you do more of that throughout the game, you'd get a little better sense of them. But yeah, I mean, without that, it does take some of the impact away from that. Otherwise, that would have worked pretty well.
It's what Mass Effect does, right? Like, again, it's become like a staple of a lot of RPGs is like between missions, you go and like talk to each individual party member.
Yeah.
Except in this one, they're a little bit,
I mean,
maybe if I talked to Kat more, I would have believed that she was an idiot, you know? Like,
well, it only comes up sometimes.
Yeah. She's
yeah.
Like off and on bits.
I mean, I don't know if you're thinking this, Zach, but if you're not, then I'd be surprised. Like, you and I, of course, we've seen this same kind of thing play out in Endwalker. I'm going to say it hits a little better. It lands a little better there.
Yeah, I mean, like it's so common. Like it plays out in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 as well.
Yeah,
like it's actually like my favorite kind of trope.
Yes,
in Endwalker, it's like it's so powerful, right? But if it's not done right, for me it flops so hard that like it's saying something because I like this game a lot, and I really like the rest of this ending sequence that we're about to talk about. Very good in my opinion.
Do you mean like the talking to each party member or like facing yourself? Which trope?
Just
talking like sort of like the power of togetherness.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And like you need to have that. That had to be there before for this to actually like have emotional impact.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, especially because like I didn't realize that I had to walk up with them, so I just went up and talked to them eeach time, and then I walked out.
Me too.
And then I was like, "Oh crap! I had to do something else." And so like I had to go do it again. It took me like 25 minutes.
Me too.
it was just obnoxious. And the dungeon itself was classic hard JRPG. I can't, say anything. Like the hardest part of Final Fantasy IV, for example, we've talked about this earlier, is definitely that last part on like the sort of like those glass, shards in. So I think that it's very much of its time, but it's also like easier in some ways because they give you all those heals throughout, which this game usually doesn't do. But then. The very final sequence I think is great. It's so good. Like you eventually walk through a door and it's all dark. I'm like, oh, this kind of reminds me of something. And you walk forward and like you hear this voice who's like, oh, I always knew you were the chosen one. Oh, and I was like, oh, dang. I know I'm about to fight. This is going to be awesome. I get to fight the guy from the beginning of the game. And it's just really cool. And I don't think I knew this until I was reading about it afterwards. Like he gives you the option to fight him alone. And it never in a million years would have occurred to me that I would say yes to that. Like, that seems dumb, but you can fight that dude alone. Apparently it makes him a little bit weaker, but it's still really challenging if you don't have a bunch of MP restorative stuff to just fire G-Dragon at him over and over again. It's a waste, but I think that it's really good. Like it's just like really evocative.
Yeah. By far the hardest boss in the game for me too. Like you gave us the heads up, Zach, of like you should make sure that you have Cure 3 or like a party healing spell. And even with that, I had Bo and Rand both casting Cure 3 like alternatively. And I was like, just by the skin of my teeth, I beat that boss. I was like, whew, like, and then afterwards I'm like, is there another boss after this? Like I was like really feeling like the dread, but thematically, yeah, it was like a beautiful fight. And, the sprite was really creepy too. I mean, you're fighting, this is before Evan. That's right. Yeah. You're fighting the big scorpion guy, which I'm glad that they called back to that right after showing like the scene where you play as Valerie, Ryu's mom. And like, you see like kid Ryu and you re-experience like that opening scene again from another perspective. I thought the timing of that was set up really well.
Yeah, for sure. No, I guess maybe that's another trope too, is like, oh, fighting this thing that you couldn't fight or defeat the first time through, but that's okay because I enjoyed it too. it's a really
Yeah.
satisfying thing when you can pull it off. And I'm
Well, it's like
glad
sort of like-
and I'm glad that it's as difficult as it is, because
Yeah.
it should be at that point.
Yeah.
It's like sort of like your childhood nightmare too, right? Like I think again, like there are some interesting things they could have done with it thematically that they didn't do, but like the fact that it still evokes that sort of childhood nightmare of you walking through that cave, which you can walk through later. Actually, we didn't talk about this, but like you actually have to walk through it if you don't get your town to fly. I think because after you open up the final dungeon, you can't summon the bird anymore. Because it's being chased by demons.
Yeah. Unless you have
Mina.
blue in your party, or Spar.
Yeah, I guess you could warp.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess you could warp. Yeah, I didn't think about that. But yeah, the dungeon is still, you can still walk into it. It's very short and there are no enemies in there. But yeah. But yeah, I just think it definitely, like, as a kid, it was very scary to me. It's very cool as a person who like definitely had nightmares about monsters to overcome something like that. But then you get to the very end sequence, which I also think is really cool. I totally forgot about this. Like, I totally forgotten about it, because Barabari was like sort of like the enemy that I remembered always, because it's a harder fight, for the record, than Death Heaven. But then you get to like sort of the demon god, and he just like obliterates you. He turns you all into crystal, and then sort of through the power of something, I don't know, you reignite yourself, and there's this really amazing, like almost cutscene where you're like running after Death Heaven.
It switches
like,
to like the battle screen, like the battle sprite of him sprinting towards Death Heaven. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's firing at you as you're going, and you just keep going, you keep going, you keep going, and it's like, oh man, this is like a set piece that I can get behind. It's so cool.
I think that's,
and then you have the fight itself.
Yeah.
But I think it's just okay. But yeah,
and I think that's the only
Heaven,
place that song plays, right? Is in that moment.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool too.
Oh, which by the way, like we complained about the dungeon theme in the last episode. The final dungeon does have a unique theme, which I'm like, I wish they would have used that like in a few more places in the, because that was a great theme, I thought, like, and it was much more tonally, I don't know, foreboding. But yeah, the scene where Evan is like smashing the crystal one by one of your teammates and like killing them, he like recaps their hero's journey. He's like, again, I had Rand, so he's like, Rand, you joined Ryu because you were bored. Now your life is over. You know, and then like Bo was your buddy for all of time. Now he's gone. Like he did that one by one while Ryu is like, you know, paralyzed on the ground. I thought that was like really cool. And then following that with like the running scene, and which is finished by like I said it was a very Ninja Gaiden-esque of he takes his sword out for the first time, I believe, and just like without any warning just slashes Evan across the face, and like he bleeds and everything, and then he falls back dead over the edge. Like I thought, like, wow, that was like by far the most badass moment of the game. I thought they did that really, really well.
Yeah.
No, it's like actions. It's like action movie stuff done well, especially because it's so surprising when this game doesn't do anything like that at all before this.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The last boss is pretty easy, honestly. It casts death a lot. If you don't get hit by that a couple of times, like if you can get through Baraburi, you can just like totally truck this dude. Like it's not hard. But then you get the ending, which I think is really good. We didn't talk about the bad ending. But before you go down, you actually have the option to say like, hey, like I'm just going to let it sit and it'll be fine. And of course, if you just let Death Heaven sit, he's going to come out, and then he gets more powerful, and then he destroys the world. But you have like sort of two others, like sort of canonical endings. One, after you beat Death Heaven, if you didn't get your town to fly, as in you saved your father, you decide as you come out of the dungeon, like, hey, like Death Heaven's not really dead, because he actually says that. Like, he never really acknowledges that he's gone. And you're like, hey, I'm going to turn into a dragon myself. I'm going to protect this town. I'm going to protect the world again, the same way my mom did. But if you get the good ending, somehow this works the same way. I'm not really sure how, but the town that you've been flying for the last few hours of the game crashes in, and it's sort of the block of it. And I feel like a dragon would probably be more of a powerful way. I don't think rock would really deter Death Event at full power. But hey, whatever works, man. But that's the end of the game. And then you get the credit sequence in this game is also weird. They turn it into like a movie sequence. Like, I forgot about this. Like, what is this? It's really interesting.
They say like the cast of Breath of Fire 2, and then they show like little girl, old peasant of every single town. And I'm like, I didn't need to know like the names of all these like tiny characters. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather care about like the designers of the game, but yeah, they just like show you every little character. But
Yeah, that was strange, and I can't think of another game that did that. Which, hey, again, points for novelty. I do like the idea, though, to go back just for a second, Zach, that they decided a giant cork is more effective than a magical dragon. Although, can we? Maybe there was meant to be more. Maybe there was something in some game designer's head about that. Because, like, why is this machine under this town? And like when you start flying it around, it's like this giant. I mean, the town part is like 10% of it, and most of it is this huge metal, like spaceship looking structure. So I'm like, there's a story behind that.
It's like ancient technology. Like, I sincerely never thought about that question you just asked me, which tells you that JRPGs have poisoned my brain.
Yeah. Well, there's not a lot of that technology. There's the one under the church, and there's this one. Like, but where did they come from? Why was it under this town? It's this huge thing, and there's obviously more to it than just that one machine. Looking at the size of it, so I'm like, I guess it could be effective if we knew what the deal was.
Do the other Breath of Fire games go into like ancient technology or sci-fi elements at all?
I think
not that I remember, but I could be wrong.
I think 3 does a little bit. I don't know. It's been too long. I mean, one of your characters in 3 is like an engineer, and she fights with like a gun or bazooka or something. So like they're more technologically advanced in that game in some parts.
I feel like the Sky Tower, like the one that we didn't talk about, it was like a little more sci-fi like that, like a little more ancient technology. But
the place where you had to like get through it in a certain number of minutes. Yeah, I forgot about that, but that was rough.
yeah.
Especially because there was like a great item at the end of it when you got like right to like 30 seconds left.
Right. And, I mean, they designed, they had just when you're in the field, a clock just in like a standard dialogue box, but then they designed a special one that looks like a little LED clock in battle. They made this unique little asset and timer only for this one sequence. Attention and detail. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's Breath of Fire 2 is a weird game. It's really interesting because I think it's more forward looking than a lot of games of its time. It's not as perfect as a lot of games of its time that we still talk about today, right? Like, it's still like Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, they came out like around the same time.
Yep.
Those games are certainly much more perfect than this, but actually I think in some ways Breath of Fire 2 is a little more forward looking to what the genre becomes in terms of gathering things, in terms of even auto battles, in terms of kill God, in terms of things like that, which become extremely common in the genre. But I will say that this conversation has even sort of solidified it for me. Like, the last 10 hours of this game, I think, are still, despite the really terrible localization, some of the best storytelling on the SNES. And I thought when I was coming back to it, I was like, people crap on this game all the time. It's been so long since I've played it. I'm sure I will not feel the same. It's been 25 years since I played this game, but I sincerely still enjoyed it almost as much as I enjoy some of the big classics, even though they are not 40 hours long unnecessarily like this game is. And I just think it swings really big, and I appreciate a game that swings big. And it's very traditional in other ways, but it swings in ways that you can see the genre going elsewhere and afterwards that I think are really cool.
Yeah. I mean, how many different just design choices or narrative choices or gameplay elements like the town building and other things have we talked about in these 2 episodes where this is novel. It wasn't done perfectly, but also no one else did it yet. So they didn't have a blueprint for so many of these things. So they were coming up with them. And I'm not saying every single one we talked about was never appeared before this game, but I never saw them before this game. So it's I can't fault them for that. I think that's really impressive that they did all these things. And I when I was younger, I liked the game, but didn't think about it from that perspective. I didn't think about the mechanics, or obviously, because there wasn't anything else out there. I didn't have the decades afterwards to compare it to. But yeah, I have. I don't like the translation any more than I ever did. I would love. That's why I wanted to play the GBA one, because I thought it was retranslated. But I looking back at it now to see all these things, these novel ideas they came up with, I respect it even more than I did before. So I was really happy to play it again.
Yeah, I mean, coming at it for the first time in my life, like I'm new to the entire series, I was really impressed by it, and like playing it, I could very much see like how a young person would love this game, especially like in a world where JRPGs haven't been kind of fleshed out to the point where they are now. Um, I was surprised again. Like I'm like, yeah, many times. Is this the first time that we've seen like this, kind of technology or this kind of advancement? And like, yeah, again, very ambitious, right? I really enjoyed that for it, and I feel like it does kind of deserve a place in the, I don't know, pantheon of classic JRPGs just for that kind of influence that it had on the genre, I feel like. And it still was like, I imagine the GBA version would be much more fun to play, or much less frustrating to play in times, but like the opening like 5 hours, the closing 10 hours, and like various episodes throughout the middle, I really enjoyed. It was a game for me that was really easy to love, but also easy to hate. And
the game hated you at those times too. So
exactly. Yeah. We had a push and pull relationship with each other. So, and it's easier to hate on and like pick apart things that you do love. You know what I mean? So I think if I really didn't care about this game, I would just like toss it aside and be like, you know what, guys, you go ahead without me and and play. But the fact that like I was compelled to see it through to like the 40-hour mark, I think is a pretty great, I don't know, great thing for its part. But yeah, I'm very much interested in playing 3 and 4 now. 1 less so, but I'll probably play 3 and 4 especially.
I mean, 1 is shorter. It's definitely easier.
Oh.
Yeah, way easier than this game, and it's less than half the length. So,
Zach, don't. Why do you got to say that to me? Now I got to play it.
It's kind of a novelty.
Nintendo Switch Online too, so
it is.
Maybe yeah, it's easier to get to than 3, I think.
I have 3 and 4 on my Vita.
So. Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I think you can get both of them. Yeah, I've got both. I think I own both of them through the PS Store at some point on my PS TV, which, yes, that's what I own, not a Vita.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's fine.
It was like $20 at some point. So,
and now it's like, I think $2,000,
$600.
So, yeah, hold on to that.
Should sell that thing, man. Yeah. Thank the two of you so much for coming on. We've run a little longer than I anticipated, but there's a lot of stuff to talk about in the second half. It was fun. You guys had a lot of really interesting things to say, and maybe think about this game in maybe an even more positive light, even with everybody's complaining about a variety of things, which is very legitimate, because I had plenty of complaints myself. So let's talk about what's coming up next. So in 2 weeks, you will hear our 4th Confessions episode, which will be the episode where a number of us come together and talk about series or games that we haven't played that we feel like we absolutely need to. And the other people on the panel will say, that's okay. Here's why it's great. Here's why you might want to play it. No shame here. This is not Catholic Church style. This is not St. Ava style. No shame. All love, just for the games and the people who are coming to talk about them. And then 2 weeks after that, we will have our first episode on Drakengard, which is a game that we're recording this, for the record, way ahead of time. So I haven't even thought about playing Drakengard yet, but actually I think about playing Drakengard every day. So I'm extremely excited to dig into those with a large panel of people who are excited to expose themselves to the pain that apparently that game is. Mike, you've played Drakengard, right?
I did. I played it way before anything else.
Way before like Taro became Taro.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, no one knew. I just played it because it was like, yeah, it's a game with dragons. I'm like, yeah, I'll play it. I really liked it. So when I hear people talking about how I understand it's like not the most polished, but like I don't care. I thought it was interesting. The combat was fun. So I don't know. I don't remember the narrative part of it, so I don't know how that holds up. But I'm really hoping that you enjoy it.
I mean, if it's a Taro narrative, it's got to be weird. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where it goes. If you want to email us, you can email us retro@rpgfan.com. If you want to get in touch with us elsewhere, you can also get in touch with us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, Blue Sky, Twitch, YouTube. We're usually RPG Fan or RPG Fan Com in those places. We also have a Discord. Just search up RPG Fan. You'll find us. I'm also on there if you want to chat with me there. We also have 2 other shops. Both of them you could reach on rpgfan.com, or you can just Google them. One of them is hosted by TeePublic, where we sell shirts, mugs, things like that. I actually did this on purpose because I've said it like 3 podcasts in a row, but I'm wearing my RPG Fan shirt right now, and it's still the most comfortable shirt I own. That's not a joke. So you can rep us and rep us comfortably if you want. We also have another shop hosted by Hyperplay RPG, where you can buy our review card collection with, I believe, almost 300. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Almost 300 review cards that you may have seen on Instagram that Mike beautifully curated for us. It's an amazing collection. If you like old video game magazines, you might like these. How many review cards are in there, Mike?
It is a 300-page book, but there's an intro, so I think it's 294 or something. It's just under 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. You couldn't go for 300, Mike?
It's 300 pages total. So I could have, if we had no intro and I didn't spend 2 pages listing every single author that appears in the book, which, by the way, if you don't have the book, Matt, you should, but is a large section of that intro. So, yeah, I guess if I didn't want to be nice and thank everyone for their hard work, we could have fit more cards in there. So I'll think about that for next time.
Whoa. Do you guys deliver to Japan? I'll take one.
Maybe.
I'll find out.
I'm not sure. We also have 2 other fine podcasts. One is Random Encounter, about random things, current events. Because we're recording this so far ahead of time, I have no idea what's coming up next. I'm sure Jono wouldn't either. But we do have Rhythm Encounters host here. You might know what's coming up in 3 or 4 weeks here, Mike. So it would be like right now for our listeners. So tell us about Rhythm Encounter.
Yeah, I do. Our schedule was a little weird for a while, but I can say this now. It should stick. But in a couple weeks, we're doing another new music episode. We've been doing that every quarter this year. So talking about new music of
So
springtime.
there's only one thing you're talking about, right?
Well,
it's just Clair Obscur, right?
It's funny because we've been putting Clair Obscur on the other new music episodes leading up to it, which we justified by the fact that they were releasing music before the game came out. But yes, there will be Clair Obscur. There will be something from Blueprints, and we don't know what else yet. We know those 2 because we haven't recorded that one yet. But we're going to be doing that. Actually, when this goes up, our last episode was also about Nintendo music. It sort of to correlate with the launch of the Switch 2. So we did one that was Nintendo RPGs, but also non-RPGs, just because I wanted to see, like, if we do this Nintendo celebration, like, what will people do? And boy, did we get some really cool picks.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fun episode.
I'm going to have to go check what the picks were. I mean, I can't listen to the episode yet, but I can see the picks. So I will go check that out. I'm excited for that. And if you're excited about any of our podcasts, you can find us or review us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, lots of other podcast forums. I always look at like sort of our back end. I'm curious where people download things from, and it's usually Apple Podcasts. But, if you find us elsewhere, we love feedback, 5 stars or 1 star if you really don't like our Final Fantasy tier list. No regrets. And let's talk about how we can find the individual panelists, starting with you, Matt.
If you want to read some of my fiction, I have science fiction short story collections available at mattwardellwrites.wordpress.com, or if you look me up on any bookstore, and check out my writing at RPG Fan. I'm writing a lot of fun stuff, especially music reviews, so be sure to check that out.
We love it. What about you, Mike?
I'm also going to throw it up, Matt, just because you didn't, but Matt also has an audiobook of one of his short story collections narrated by himself. So if you enjoyed his great voice in this podcast, you can hear his great...
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, right?
That's awesome.
It's so cool.
So if you didn't get enough of me yapping, you can hear me yap about, robots and things like that.
Yeah, it's so cool. Anyway, for me, the best way to reach me is mike@rpgfan.com. And that's all I got.
Excellent. And if you want to get in touch with me personally, the retro@rpgfan.com is good. ZachW@rpgfan.com, also good. I check them usually at the same time. And you can also find me on our Discord as ZachW. So again, thank the two of you so much for coming along on this journey to play this game that I have a lot of nostalgia for, and it turns out I still have a lot of love for. And thank you, listeners. Good night and good luck.